Hello and welcome back to this video series on the Garmin Montana 600 series of GPS handheld navigational systems. In the last episode I told you about my plans to mount this GPS to my motorcycle and that I was still missing some parts, and here they are. You can see them with the Montana already mounted to them. Keep in mind this is just screwed together here on the bench, so I can present this to you. But I would like to show you how I was thinking about this and what parts I used. I will also link the parts in the description if you want to create something like that. Now, to begin with, what do we have here? First of all, we have the Garmin Montana, of course, that's what this video is all about. And we have some extra parts. We have a holder that's called the AMPS Rugged Cradle. Additional to that, we have a little vertical mounting bracket and this little piece over here, which will be mounted onto the motorcycle, onto the handlebar. But let's get into the details of these things. Let me remove the Garmin and let me show how the racket mount, the AMPS racket mount, looks. First of all, you have these little hooks on the side, here on the left side, which are fixed in position. Then you have this little golden connector points, which are used to get power to the device and also get sound from the device if you want, and there are also some data connections. We will get to that in a minute. Then you have this little, let me work around the tripod here, this little rubber flap, which can be put onto these connector ports if the mount is not used and if you don't want the connector ports to get wet or dirty. Then on the other side there is a little button over here which inside moves these hooks. I hope you can see that. Let me get this a little closer to the camera maybe. So when you press the button, these little hooks move. Internally, this little plate on the other side moves. I think there's a ramp inside, so that pushes this to the side and some springs. And this allows you to release the Garmin after putting it into the cradle. See, here are the recesses. You line those up, and then you just push on it. You see this plate comes out. I would like this feeling to be more positive. It's a kind of a squishy feeling when you put that in. You can also see that. Let me remove this again. When I push this in, there is no click, for lack of another word. So there is no positive clicky feeling that this is mounted. It's more like a, well, yeah, maybe now, maybe. So if this is pushed back in, the device is mounted, and it's also due to the rubber of the backside of the device, it stays in place fairly well. If you are still unsure if this will hold, there is a little screw which you can screw down, which disables this plate from moving, so this can't move out, and the device cannot be released. So also even if you drop the bike or if you have like a little crash, yeah, your Montana will not fly out of the mount. But let's talk about some other features here. As you can tell, this is the brackets, or these are the brackets that will be mounted to the handlebars. Then there is a horizontal piece on which this T part is mounted against. Let me turn this around so you can see that a little better. Here it is mounted on this little horizontal piece, and then there is this T area where the screws are coming through. Note that thank you phone. Note that the AMPS mount itself is not designed to be mounted on this plate. This plate carrier is basically made for some Touratech advanced holder for the device. It does not fit 100%, you can tell by the angle of the bolts, but the bolts are rubber mounted inside the AMPS cradle, so this is basically not a problem, that they are a little slanted. This rubber flap here is also mounted on the cable, which is nice because if you remove it, it can move freely and it's not binding against anything, so it's not snagging or yeah. So that's nice. Here you can see the action of the plunger again. If I push that, you see that those parts are moving on the side. Yeah, let's get to the cable end of this. There's a long cable on it. There's actually two cables. There's a T piece in here, or Y piece. One side is the cables that go to your battery and to your data connection, if you have one. The other one is just a regular 3.5mm audio out jack. You can use that if you want to hear some commands on your helmet, maybe, but I will not use that, and because of that, I have taped that off so there's no dirt or water getting in here. The other cable is just your regular ground cable, the black one, and your positive 12 volt cable. I mean 12 volt when you mount this on a motorcycle. I think this is good for 10 up to 50 volts, so it's relatively variable, the voltage. In here is a little fuse. It's a little 2 amp fuse, which I will now not remove. It's fairly tight in there. But there's a little rubber hood that goes over that, so this is sealed off from the elements. And the last cable over here are actually 3 cables. You can see that maybe on here a little bit. It's a brown, no, it's a blue, a green and a yellow cable. These are data connections, and this is data plus, data minus and data ground. This can be used on, for example, ships. If you have devices that are NMEA 2000 or NMEA 0183 capable, I had to look that up, I don't know that by heart. This is some standard for communicating between naval devices. For example, if you have a depth measuring device on your ship, you can transfer that information to the Garmin, and the Garmin can then display that. I have asked the Garmin support. As far as they can tell me, there is no way to mount this to a motorcycle, or especially to a BMW. If you have other information, please let us know. The last thing you might ask yourself is, how is this going to be mounted on the handlebars? I don't see how this is going to work. Well, I have not understood that either, so I had to ask at a Touratech. How they do that is pretty Touratech-y. They replace some OEM parts with some of their own, and this is maybe not the best option to do it. But how is it done? The normal pinch bolt that pins down or pinches down your handlebars is replaced by this one here. It looks fairly straightforward. It's a bolt, okay, but how do I gonna get this onto there? The point is, there is another thread drilled in there, and this is you use a 13mm socket to fasten this to your handlebar mounting points, and when these are fastened, you have this holes in here, and through this you use another screw and then tighten these onto the screws itself, like that. And then this sits on the handlebar pinch bolts. In theory, this seems to be a pretty good idea. In reality, I have found a major issue with that. And this is when you go off-road and you drop your bike, then your handlebars may not be straight anymore. So you will have sometimes to release these pinch bolts by a fraction of a millimeter, so by some Newton, pinch them back, move them back, so that they get a little loose. Then you can straighten your handlebars again and retighten them. This is fairly impractical with these bolts, because you can't just go in there and release those bolts by a little bit, because those bolts in turn have screws which the GPS mount is mounted on. So you could, in theory, use a 13mm wrench and release them a little bit, but you would release also the upper mount, have to release the upper mount before that, the upper screw, because otherwise the whole device will be turned, and that's not good. So this might be a little issue. What I will also do is I will not mount these this wiring directly to the battery, because then this will always have have some energy on that, and I don't want that. I will mount this to a special plug that I will show you in the next video, and this is the GPS plug, and this will be soldered to those two wires, to the positive and ground wire, and then this can be plugged into the motorcycle, and the device will only turn on when the motorcycle is turned on. So that's a nice thing. Also, it will be turned off 1 minute after the motorcycle is turned off. So if you just turn it off for a small moment, there will be no cut in the electricity of this mount. So yeah, that's it so far for this little video. I will link to you the parts I used in the description if you're interested in. Oh, by the way, pricing, that's maybe an interesting point. I paid 45 euros for the cradle itself. This is including wiring, difficult word. Also including a little instruction booklet that does not say anything, and it also comes with some protection screens or some protection layers you can put on here. I have not done that yet. Then this holder for your handlebars is I think 45 euros as well from Touratech. Fairly expensive for some brackets and 3 screws. And then there is this little T-piece here on the back, and this is I think 9 euros from Touratech. These little black things I added myself just to stop these screws from sliding around. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you have questions, please ask me, and I hope to see you at the next video, or in the next video part, rather. If you liked the video, don't hesitate, share it, subscribe to the channel. Yes, I am that kind of a guy. And yeah, I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.